Ancient Persia ruled almost half of the world's population, yet most of what we know about it is completely wrong. Not because history was lost, but because the people who wrote it were Persia's enemies. Today, we're peeling back 2,500 years of distortion to uncover what the Persian Empire really was, far more advanced, far more complex, and far more influential than you've ever been told. Much of what we know comes from three Greek authors, Herodotus, Xenophon, and Ctesias. But there's a major issue: the Greeks were enemies of the Persians, often misunderstood their culture, and wrote with heavy bias. Even the names of Persian monarchs are distorted because the Greek alphabet lacks sounds found in the Persian language. Examples: Cyrus equals Kuruz. Darius equals Darayav. Xerxes equals Cyarsa. And their king was actually a Shah, not what the Greeks imagined. Fortunately, we are not dependent solely on Greek accounts. One of the most valuable sources is the Persepolis Administrative Archive, containing thousands of cuneiform tablets filled with economic records that show how the Persian Empire truly functioned. The Persians, or Parsa, were an Indo-Iranian people closely related to the Medes. They migrated south from areas in modern Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan toward the richer lands near Mesopotamia. They called their land Aryana, the ancient root of the modern word Iran. Interestingly, the word Parsa originally meant strong or warrior. They were pastoral nomads but followed a special pattern of seasonal movement called vertical nomadism, spending summers in the highlands and winters in lower, warmer valleys. This lifestyle still survives in some Caucasus regions today. Their appearance and clothing, tall stature, lighter complexion, trousers for riding, and distinctive pointed caps, set them apart from the settled peoples of Mesopotamia. In the 7th century BCE, the Persians seized the Elamite city of Anshan. From that point onward, all Persian rulers styled themselves King of Anshan. In the 6th century BCE, Cyrus II came to power. At the time, Persia was still under Median rule, but Cyrus led a rebellion against the Median king Astyages. Several powerful Median clans switched sides, and Cyrus defeated Astyages in a decisive battle. Cyrus then founded Pasargadae, which became a center of his expanding realm. He quickly launched campaigns across the region, conquering Parthia, Armenia, Cappadocia, Elam, Lydia, and the Greek cities of Ionia. Finally, he turned toward the greatest power in Mesopotamia, the Neo-Babylonian Empire. When the Persian army approached Babylon, the city's elites, fed up with King Nabonidus, opened the gates without resistance. Cyrus entered as a liberator rather than a destroyer. Cyrus was not only a skilled conqueror but also a remarkably capable statesman. He was known for ruling with tolerance, preserving local elites, and avoiding interference in cultural or religious matters. Because of this, he is remembered with great respect in Jewish tradition. He freed displaced peoples and allowed the Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple. However, during a campaign against the nomadic Massagetæ in the north, Cyrus was killed in battle. After Cyrus, his son Cambyses took the throne. He successfully conquered Egypt and Libya but faced various rebellions throughout the empire. On his way to suppress an uprising in Babylon, he fell ill and died. Power then passed to Darius, who seized the throne by claiming that an impostor had attempted to take power in the name of Cyrus's son. Darius, not directly descended from Cyrus, legitimized his rule by tracing his ancestry to an earlier royal forefather. Darius spent the early years of his reign crushing revolts, restructuring the empire, and implementing reforms that transformed Persia into a sophisticated administrative state. He divided the empire into provinces called satrapies, each governed by a satrap. He introduced a standardized currency, the gold daric, built a vast system of royal roads, expanded the postal relay network, and sponsored major construction projects. Persepolis, with its grand audience hall known as the Apadana, became the ceremonial capital under his rule. Persian pleasure gardens, known as paradisa, later gave rise to the English word paradise. The elite corps of the Achaemenid army was the famous 10,000-man unit the Greeks called the Immortals, likely a mistranslation of a word meaning companions. Whenever a soldier died or was injured, he was instantly replaced to maintain the same number. Supporting forces included archers, slingers, heavy cavalry, and auxiliary troops from all corners of the empire: Egyptians, Babylonians, Syrians, Jews, Greeks, and others. Persian rulers also employed many foreign mercenaries. Their religion was an early form of Mazdaism, a precursor to Zoroastrianism. It was not fully monotheistic, although Ahura Mazda was supreme, many other divine beings were acknowledged. Persians never forced their religion on conquered peoples, making the empire one of the most religiously tolerant of the ancient world. They had an unusual custom for decision-making. They would discuss important matters while drunk, then revisit the same decisions sober. If both judgments matched, the decision was accepted. The first clash came with the Ionian Revolt in 499 BCE. The Greek cities in Asia Minor rebelled with help from Athens. Though Persia eventually suppressed the revolt, the destruction of Sardis angered Darius, who demanded symbolic submission, earth and water, from Greek city-states. Athens and Sparta refused, killing the envoys. Persia responded by launching an invasion that led to the Battle of Marathon, where the Athenians defeated a much larger Persian force. After Darius's death, his son Xerxes launched a massive invasion of Greece. Greek sources vastly exaggerated the size of the Persian army, but even modern estimates place it around 200,000, still enormous for the era. The Greeks chose to defend the narrow pass of Thermopylae, where Spartans and a small allied force held the Persians for 2 days before being surrounded on the third. After their fall, Xerxes marched into Athens, only to find the city evacuated. The decisive moment came at sea, in the Battle of Salamis. Greek heavy triremes lured the Persian navy into a confined strait, where maneuvering was difficult. The Persian fleet suffered major losses, forcing Xerxes to retreat. Although the Persians retained great power, they failed to conquer Greece. Instead, they shifted to diplomacy, wealth, and cultural influence, funding Greek politicians to sway local politics. Persia's downfall came from an unexpected direction. In the 4th century BCE, King Philip II of Macedon united Greece and prepared for an invasion of Persia, but he was assassinated. His son, Alexander the Great, inherited both the throne and the invasion plan. Over the next 13 years, Alexander crushed the Persian armies and captured the empire piece by piece. Macedonian phalanxes, superior tactics, and Alexander's near-supernatural luck on the battlefield made victory almost inevitable. By 329 BCE, after more than 2 centuries, the Achaemenid Empire had collapsed. Yet Persia's legacy endured. It survived through the Hellenistic Seleucid state, the Parthian kingdom, the Sasanian Empire, and echoes of it remain even today, in the Persian language and in surviving Zoroastrian community.